The rain hammered against the mansion gates as Amara collapsed onto the wet pavement, her small bag spilling its contents into the muddy water. Blood trickled from her split lip where Mrs. Chidinma Okonkwo had struck her moments before. Behind those towering iron gates, she could hear the screams, the chaos, the sirens approaching. "You killed him," Chidinma's voice echoed into the night. "Security, police, this maid poisoned my husband." Amara's hands trembled as she touched her swollen belly, 6 months heavy with child. The gate remained locked. The guards who once greeted her with smiles now stared through her as if she were invisible. Through the bars, she could see Mr. Okonkwo's body being carried out on a stretcher, covered with a white sheet. Her employer, her secret lover, the father of her unborn child. Dead. And she was being blamed. "Please," Amara whispered, her voice breaking. "Please, I didn't do anything. Somebody help me." But nobody came. The security cameras had been tampered with. The tea she'd served him, which Chidinma herself had prepared in the kitchen, would show only Amara's fingerprints. Every witness had been paid, every escape route blocked. This was not an accident. This was a perfect trap. As the police vehicles pulled up to the mansion, their blue lights cutting through the darkness, Amara knew she had only seconds to decide. Stay and face a murder charge she couldn't fight, or run and become a fugitive. She ran. But to understand how an innocent 23-year-old maid from a small village in Enugu State ended up fleeing a murder scene in one of Lagos's wealthiest neighborhoods, we must go back. Back to where it all began, 8 months earlier, when Amara first walked through those gates with hope in her heart and prayers on her lips. Amara had arrived at the Okonkwo mansion on a Tuesday morning, her single suitcase held together with rope, her late mother's Bible tucked under her arm. The house stood like a golden castle in Banana Island, its walls gleaming white under the Lagos sun, its gardens more beautiful than anything she'd seen in her village. "You will work hard, keep your head down, and never, ever disrespect Madam," the head servant, Uncle Festus, had warned her. "Mrs. Chidinma Okonkwo is not a woman to cross. She has destroyed people for less than a sideways glance." Amara had nodded, grateful just to have work. After her mother's death from cancer had left her family drowning in debt, this job was a miracle. The salary alone could feed her 3 younger siblings back home and pay for their school fees. She didn't know that accepting this position would sign her death warrant. The Okonkwo family was one of Lagos's most powerful dynasties. Chief Ebuka Okonkwo owned half the real estate in Victoria Island, 3 oil wells in the Niger Delta, and had connections that reached into every government office in Abuja. He was 61 years old, dignified, with gray threading through his hair and a gentle smile that seemed out of place among the cold luxury of his home. His wife, Chidinma, was 38, stunning and ruthless. She had married Ebuka when she was just 20, transforming from a beauty queen with nothing to her name into a woman who controlled millions. She wore her designer clothes like armor and her cruelty like perfume. Their daughter, Kimberly, 20 years old, was studying fashion in London but visited often. She'd inherited her mother's beauty and her capacity for malice. For the first month, Amara was invisible. She cleaned, she cooked, she served. She disappeared into the shadows as trained. But Chief Ebuka noticed her, not in the way Amara feared at first, but with a kindness she hadn't experienced since her father died. "You're reading," he said one evening, finding her in the servants' quarters with a book. Amara had jumped to her feet, terrified. "I'm sorry, sir. I finished my work, I just—" "No, no, sit," he'd smiled. "What are you reading?" "Things Fall Apart, sir, by Chinua Achebe." His eyes had lit up. "Ah, a classic. Tell me, what do you think of Okonkwo's Pride?" That conversation lasted an hour. It was the first of many. Chief Ebuka was lonely, Amara realized. Trapped in a mansion with a wife who loved his money but despised him, he craved intelligent conversation, genuine connection. Amara provided something his world of business deals and fake smiles could not: authenticity. The conversations became longer, more personal. He asked about her family, her dreams, her mother's death. She learned about his own humble beginnings in Aba, how he'd built his empire from nothing, how he'd married Chidinma thinking beauty could replace love. "I made a mistake," he'd confessed one night when Chidinma was in Dubai shopping. "I married the wrong woman for the wrong reasons. Now I'm paying for it every day." Amara should have recognized the danger, should have pulled away. But then came the night when Chief Ebuka received news that his younger brother had died in a car accident. Chidinma was at a party and refused to come home. "Death doesn't stop for anyone's grief," she'd said coldly over the phone. Amara found Chief Ebuka weeping in his study, this powerful man reduced to a broken child. She'd sat with him, held his hand, let him cry. And when he kissed her, soft and desperate, she didn't pull away. She kissed him back. The affair began that night. It was wrong, Amara knew it was wrong, but it felt like the first real thing she'd experienced in years. Chief Ebuka wasn't using her. He loved her, truly loved her, in a way that terrified them both. "I'll leave Chidinma," he promised. "I'll divorce her and marry you properly. I don't care what society says." But Chief Ebuka didn't understand what Amara was beginning to learn. Chidinma Okonkwo knew everything that happened in her house. She had cameras hidden in places even the security team didn't know about. She had servants who reported directly to her. She had been watching, waiting, planning. And when Amara missed her period, when the pregnancy test came back positive, when Chief Ebuka held her and wept with joy, Chidinma decided it was time to strike. The trap had been set for months. Now it was ready to spring. What would you have done in Amara's situation? Was she wrong to fall in love with a married man, even one who was trapped in a loveless marriage? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe because this story is just beginning, and you won't believe what Chidinma has planned next. 3 days after that first kiss, Amara discovered she wasn't the only person watching her relationship with Chief Ebuka unfold. She was cleaning the upstairs hallway when she heard voices from Chidinma's private sitting room. The door was slightly ajar, and though every instinct told Amara to walk away, something in Chidinma's tone made her freeze. "I don't care how you do it, Kelechi," Chidinma was saying, her voice sharp as broken glass. "I need proof, photographs, videos, recordings, everything." "Madam, I've already collected enough," a male voice replied. Amara recognized it as belonging to Kelechi, Chidinma's personal driver and rumored former lover. The maid and the chief, they meet almost every night in his study, sometimes in the garden. They think they're being careful, but— "Careful?" Chidinma laughed, a sound without warmth. "That foolish village girl thinks she can steal my husband. She has no idea who she's dealing with. 20 years I've invested in this marriage. 20 years of pretending to love that old man, attending his boring business dinners, playing the perfect wife. And now, when he's finally talking about updating his will, some illiterate maid with a pretty face thinks she can take what's mine." Amara's blood turned cold. "What do you want me to do with the evidence?" Kelechi asked. "Nothing, not yet." There was a pause, and Amara could imagine Chidinma examining her perfectly manicured nails. "Let them continue. Let them fall deeper in love. Let him make promises to her. The higher they climb, the harder they'll fall. And when the time is right, I'll destroy them both so completely, there won't be anything left to bury." Amara backed away from the door, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. She needed to tell Chief Ebuka. They needed to run, to leave, to— going somewhere. Amara spun around to find Kimberly, Chidinma's daughter, standing in the hallway. She'd returned from London unexpectedly. Her designer sunglasses were perched on her head, her lips curved in a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Miss Kimberly, I was just eavesdropping on my mother's private conversation." Kimberly stepped closer, blocking Amara's path to the stairs. You know, I told Mommy you were trouble the first day I saw you. Too pretty, too educated for a maid. Girls like you always have an agenda. But I don't have an agenda. I just want to work and send money to my family. Liar, Kimberly's voice dropped to a whisper. You want my father's money. You think sleeping with him will make you rich. But let me tell you something, village girl. My mother has buried people for less. She made my father's first wife disappear so completely, they never even found a body. Amara's mouth went dry. First wife. Kimberly's smile widened. Oh, Daddy never told you. Before my mother there was Ngozi, sweet, kind Ngozi who actually loved him. She died in a mysterious house fire right after my father made her the main beneficiary of his will. So tragic. The investigation concluded it was an electrical fault. She leaned in close enough that Amara could smell her expensive perfume. It wasn't. Before Amara could respond, Kimberly walked past her, deliberately bumping her shoulder hard enough to make her stumble. Run, little maid. Run far away while you still can. Because my mother is patient, but when she strikes, she doesn't miss. That night, Amara told Chief Ebuka everything. They were in his study, the one room where he'd assured her they could speak freely because he personally checked it for listening devices every week. Chidinma knows, Amara said, her voice shaking. She's been collecting evidence. She's planning something terrible. Chief Ebuka's face hardened, aging 10 years in seconds. I should have known. Nothing happens in this house without her knowledge. He took Amara's hands in his. But it doesn't matter. I've already spoken to my lawyer. I'm divorcing her. She'll get a settlement, yes, but I'm done living this lie. What about what Kimberly said? About your first wife? Chief Ebuka's expression turned to pain. Ngozi, yes. I've suspected for years that Chidinma had something to do with her death, but I could never prove it. I was a coward. I stayed silent because I was afraid of scandal, afraid of losing my business connections that came through Chidinma's family. He stood up, his jaw set with determination. But I'm not that coward anymore. I'll protect you, Amara. I promise you that. But Chief Ebuka didn't know that his study wasn't safe. That Chidinma had installed a new system of cameras just last month, hidden in the air vents, in the lamp fixtures, in the very walls themselves. She was watching them right now. And she was recording every word. 2 weeks later, Amara discovered she was pregnant. She took the test in the servant's bathroom at 3 in the morning, her hands shaking so badly she could barely read the result. Positive. She was carrying Chief Ebuka's child. Joy and terror warred inside her chest. She wanted this baby. She wanted this family, but the timing couldn't be worse. When she told Chief Ebuka the next evening, he didn't hesitate. He dropped to his knees right there in the garden, taking her hands. Marry me. Not later, not after the divorce. Now, we'll go to the registry tomorrow. Once you're legally my wife, once this child is legally recognized as my heir, Chidinma won't be able to touch you. But the divorce isn't final. Under Nigerian law, I can take a second wife. It's not common among Christians, but it's legal. We'll do a court marriage quietly. Then, after the divorce, we'll have a proper church wedding. His eyes were bright with hope and fear. Please, Amara, let me protect you and our child. She should have said no, should have recognized that desperation makes people reckless. But she said yes. The next day, with Uncle Festus and the cook as their only witnesses, Amara and Chief Ebuka went to a registry in a quiet part of Lagos. They signed papers, exchanged vows, and became husband and wife under the law. It was the happiest day of Amara's life. It was also the day she signed her own death warrant. Because Chidinma's spy in the registry office photographed every document. By the time Amara and Chief Ebuka returned to the mansion, Chidinma knew everything. And she was ready to act. That night, Chidinma called a family meeting. She summoned everyone to the grand living room. Chief Ebuka, Kimberly, the house servants, even Chief Ebuka's business partners who happened to be visiting. "I have an announcement," Chidinma said, her voice carrying through the room like a blade. "My husband has done something that brings shame to this family, something that will destroy everything we've built." Chief Ebuka stood up. "Chidinma, not here, not like this." "No, Ebuka, they all need to know." She turned to face him, her eyes glittering with triumph. "You married the maid. You, a respected chief, a man of standing in this community, took a second wife without consulting your family, without considering the consequences. And not just any wife. A poor, uneducated village girl who's probably been sleeping with half the staff." "That's a lie," Amara shouted, rising from where she'd been standing in the corner. "Is it?" Chidinma pulled out her phone, tapping the screen. Suddenly, the large television on the wall flickered to life. Video footage began to play. Amara and Chief Ebuka in his study, kissing, embracing, the audio crystal clear. But then the video changed. The footage was edited, manipulated. It showed Amara in the servants' quarters with Kelechi, the driver. The angle was wrong, the timestamps clearly altered, but to an untrained eye it looked damning. It looked like Amara had been having an affair with multiple men. "No," Amara whispered. "That's not real, that's not what happened." "You trapped my father," Kimberly said, standing beside her mother. "You seduced him, got pregnant with God knows whose child, and convinced him to marry you so you could get his money." The business partners were murmuring, their faces twisted with disgust. The servants wouldn't meet Amara's eyes. Chief Ebuka stepped forward, his voice thundering. "Enough! These videos are doctored. Chidinma, you've gone too far. I want a divorce and I want you out of this house tonight." "Out of this house?" Chidinma's laugh was cruel. "Darling, this is my house. Or did you forget? When we married, I had my father transfer the deed into my name as a wedding gift. Legally, you're living in my property, and I want you out, both of you." The room spun. Amara clutched her stomach, feeling sick. "You can't do this," Chief Ebuka said, but his voice had lost its strength. He was realizing too late that his wife had been planning this for years. Every asset, every property, every business connection had been slowly transferred, manipulated, positioned so that she held all the power. "Security," Chidinma called. 4 large men entered the room. "Escort my husband and his wife to the gate. They're no longer welcome here." "This is illegal," Chief Ebuka protested. "I'll fight you in court." "Please do. I have the best lawyers in Lagos. And by the time they're done, the whole country will know what kind of man you really are. A man who abandoned his faithful wife for a scheming maid. Your business partners will drop you. Your political connections will vanish. You'll be destroyed." She had won, they both knew it. As security grabbed their arms as they were marched toward the door, Chidinma called out one last thing. "Oh, and Ebuka, that chest pain you've been having. You should really see a doctor. Heart problems run in families. It would be such a shame if something happened to you before you could fight me in court." It wasn't a prediction. It was a promise. The trap was even worse than Amara imagined. Chidinma had been planning this for years, and now the innocent maid and her new husband were being thrown out with nothing. But what Chidinma said about Chief Ebuka's heart, was she planning something even more sinister? Keep watching to find out, and share this story with someone who needs to see how dangerous jealousy and greed can become. Chief Ebuka and Amara spent their first night as outcasts in a small hotel in Surulere. It was nothing like the mansion, with its peeling paint and the sound of generators roaring through the thin walls, but they had each other. "I still have money," Chief Ebuka assured her, holding her close on the narrow bed. "Chidinma controls the properties, yes, but I have offshore accounts she doesn't know about. Business investments in my name alone. We'll be fine, more than fine. We'll fight her and we'll win." But Amara couldn't shake the feeling of dread that had settled in her bones. "What she said about your heart? Have you been having chest pains?" "Nothing serious, just stress." He kissed her forehead. "Don't worry about me. Worry about our child, that's all that matters now. 3 days later, Chief Ebuka collapsed. They were at a lawyer's office, discussing divorce proceedings and custody rights, when he clutched his chest and fell to the floor. Amara screamed for help, cradling his head as his breath came in short. Desperate gasps. "My medication," he whispered, "in my jacket." Amara found the pill bottle, but when she tried to open it, the pills inside looked different. Wrong. Instead of the white tablets he usually took, these were blue capsules she'd never seen before. "These aren't right," she said, but Chief Ebuka was losing consciousness. The ambulance was coming, but he needed help now. Panicking, she gave him one of the pills. It was the worst mistake of her life. By the time they reached the hospital, Chief Ebuka was barely breathing. The doctors rushed him into emergency care while Amara waited in the corridor, her hands stained with his sweat, her prayers desperate and broken. A doctor emerged 2 hours later, his face grim. "Mrs. Okonkwo." "Yes, is he?" "He's stable, but barely. It was a massive heart attack, but there's something else." The doctor's eyes narrowed. "We found extremely high levels of digoxin in his system. That's a heart medication, but in excessive doses, it's poison. It causes heart attacks. Did your husband have a prescription for digoxin?" I don't know. He had so many medications." "Who gave him his pills today?" The realization hit Amara like a physical blow. "I did. From his bottle. But they looked different. I noticed they looked different, but he was dying and I—" The doctor's expression changed from concern to suspicion. "Wait here. The police will want to speak with you." "The police? No, you don't understand. Someone switched his medication. His wife, his ex-wife, she threatened him," she said. But the doctor was already walking away, and Amara could see him speaking urgently to a nurse, both of them looking back at her. She had given Chief Ebuka the poison. Her fingerprints would be on the bottle. Any investigation would show that she had been the last person to give him medication. Chidinma had framed her perfectly. Amara ran, not from the hospital but to the one person she thought might help her, Uncle Festus, the head servant from the mansion. He had always been kind to her, had witnessed her marriage to Chief Ebuka. Surely he would testify to the truth. She found him at a small bar in Yaba, drinking palm wine alone. "Uncle Festus, please, I need your help. Chief Ebuka is in the hospital. Someone poisoned him and they're trying to blame me. You know I would never hurt him. You were at our wedding. You know we love each other." Uncle Festus wouldn't meet her eyes. He took a long drink, then finally spoke. "I can't help you, Amara." Why?" "Madam Chidinma came to see me. She offered me 5 million naira to say I never witnessed any marriage, to say that you've been unstable, talking about relationships that don't exist, that you're delusional." He finally looked at her and there were tears in his eyes. "My daughter needs surgery, cancer. The doctors say without treatment she has 6 months. 5 million naira would save her life." Amara felt her world crumbling. "So you'll lie. You'll let me go to prison for something I didn't do." "I'm sorry," he whispered, "but I have to save my child. You understand that, don't you? You're carrying a child. Wouldn't you do anything to protect them?" Before Amara could respond, her phone rang. It was the hospital. Her hands shook as she answered. "Mrs. Okonkwo, this is Dr. Ademi. I'm sorry to inform you that your husband has taken a turn for the worse. His heart has stopped twice in the last hour. We're doing everything we can, but you should come immediately. He's asking for you." "I'm coming," Amara said, but when she looked up, Uncle Festus was gone. And through the bar window she could see police cars pulling up outside. Someone had called them. Someone had told them exactly where to find her. Amara didn't go back to the hospital. Instead, she ran to the only other person who might help her, Pastor Adebio, the minister who had prayed with Chief Ebuka every Sunday, who had counseled him through his troubled marriage. She found him at his church in Ikja, preparing for evening service. "Pastor, please, Chief Ebuka is dying. Someone poisoned him and they're trying to blame me. I need you to tell the police the truth about his marriage to Chidinma. Tell them how unhappy he was. Tell them she threatened him." Pastor Adebio set down his Bible slowly. "My child, I think you're confused. Chief Ebuka and Chidinma have a strong marriage. They're pillars of this church. Whatever personal problems you're experiencing." "Personal problems? Pastor, you counseled him yourself. You know he wanted to leave her." "I counsel many people, but I would never betray the sanctity of those conversations." His voice was gentle but firm. "And even if Chief Ebuka expressed doubts about his marriage, that doesn't mean he was having an affair with a maid or that he married her. That's simply not possible. A man of his standing wouldn't." "He did." Amara pulled out her phone, showing him the marriage certificate she'd photographed. "Look, we were married at the registry. It's legal. It's real." Pastor Adebio barely glanced at the screen. "Documents can be forged, my child. And I'm afraid Mrs. Chidinma has already shown me very disturbing videos of you trying to seduce her husband, and evidence that you've been blackmailing him. She's very worried about you. She wants to get you help." "Help? She wants to destroy me." "Please lower your voice. There are people praying in the sanctuary." Pastor Adebio stood, his expression hardening. "I think you should leave now, and if you're wise, you'll turn yourself in to the police before this gets worse. If you're truly innocent, the justice system will protect you." Amara wanted to scream that the justice system didn't protect poor village girls against billionaire families, that innocence meant nothing without money and power, but she could see it was useless. Chidinma had gotten to everyone. Every witness, every ally, every person who might speak the truth had been bought, threatened, or deceived. Amara's phone rang again. This time, it was a number she didn't recognize. Against her better judgment, she answered. "Hello. Is this Amara?" A woman's voice, elderly and weak. "Yes, who is this?" "My name is Sister Mary. I'm a nurse at Lagos General Hospital. Chief Ebuka asked me to call you. He doesn't have much time. He wants to see you one last time, but you must hurry, and you must be careful. There are people watching the hospital." Is he going to die?" There was a long pause. "The poison in his system is shutting down his organs. Even if he survives the night, the damage may be permanent. But he's fighting to stay alive long enough to see you. He says he has something important to tell you. Something about documents he hid. Something that can prove everything." Hope flickered in Amara's chest. "What documents?" "He won't tell me. He says only you can know. But you must come now before." The line went dead. Amara stared at her phone. It could be a trap. Chidinma could have planted the nurse, could be luring her back to the hospital where police were waiting. But if Chief Ebuka really was dying, if he really did have proof that could expose Chidinma's schemes, she had to risk it. For her child, for their future, for justice. She took a bus to the hospital, keeping her head down, her heart pounding. When she arrived, she found chaos. Ambulances were pulling in, doctors rushing through corridors. In the confusion, she slipped past the front desk and made her way to the ICU. Sister Mary was waiting for her, an older woman with kind eyes and gray hair tucked under her nurse's cap. "Quickly," she whispered. "Room 407. You have 10 minutes before the next shift comes. After that, the security guards will recognize you." Amara ran down the hallway, her pregnant belly making her clumsy, her breath coming in gasps. Room 407. She pushed open the door. Chief Ebuka lay on the bed, connected to machines that beeped and hummed. His skin was gray, his breathing labored. But when he saw her, his eyes opened. "Amara," he whispered. She ran to his side, taking his hand. I'm here. Listen carefully, don't have much time." Each word was an effort. "My safe in Abuja, not the house, my old office. On a Demola Street, the one I kept. After I retired, code is, your birthday, inside, documents, proof of everything, Chidinma's crimes, first wife's death, her family's corruption, everything." I'll get them, I'll expose her. She'll kill you if she knows. His grip tightened. Take the documents, go to my friend. Justice Okafor, Supreme Court, only person she can't buy, promise me. I promise. And Amara, his eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry I brought you into this. Sorry I wasn't strong enough to protect you. You gave me everything, Amara sobbed. You gave me love, you gave me our child. That's enough. Chief Ebuka smiled, and for a moment he looked young again, unburdened. Name him, Ebuka or her, Ngozi, after my first wife. Let something good come from all this pain. The machines began to beep frantically. Chief Ebuka's body convulsed once, twice. No, Amara screamed. Somebody help, please. Doctors rushed in, pushing her aside. She watched through tears as they tried to save him, as they shocked his heart, as they pumped his chest. But she already knew. She had felt the moment his hand went limp in hers, the moment his spirit left his body. Chief Ebuka was dead, and Amara was alone. She was still standing in the hallway, numb with grief, when she heard the voices. She's here somewhere. I saw her on the security footage. Check every room. Mrs. Chidinma wants her found and arrested immediately. Police coming for her. Sister Mary appeared at her side, pressing something into her hand. Go backstairs, now. He made me promise to help you escape. Why would you help me? You don't even know me. Chief Ebuka delivered my grandson when he was a young doctor before he made his fortune. Saved his life when every other hospital had given up. I owe him everything. She pushed Amara toward the stairwell. Now go, live, fight. Make sure his death means something. Amara ran. Behind her she could hear shouting, footsteps, radios crackling. She burst through the back exit into the night, into the rain that was just beginning to fall. That's when she saw Chidinma's car parked by the gate, and Chidinma herself standing beside it, phone to her ear, orchestrating everything like a conductor leading an orchestra of destruction. Their eyes met across the parking lot. Chidinma smiled, and Amara knew that this was just the beginning. Chief Ebuka was dead. She was wanted for murder, and the only evidence that could save her was in an office in Abuja, 3 hours away. But Chidinma would know about that office, would know about the safe, would already be sending people to destroy whatever was inside. Amara had to get there first. She disappeared into the Lagos night, a pregnant widow with no money, no allies, and only the clothes on her back. But she had something Chidinma didn't expect. She had nothing left to lose. What would you do if everyone believed you were a murderer? How far would you go to clear your name and protect your unborn child? Drop your answers below and make sure you're subscribed, because the journey to Abuja is going to be dangerous, and Chidinma is not done destroying lives. This story is about to get even more intense. Continue. 0227. Chapter 4. Amara spent her first night as a fugitive in the ruins of an abandoned building in Oshodi. The rain poured through holes in the roof, and rats scurried across the broken concrete floor. She huddled in a corner, her arms wrapped around her belly, whispering promises to her unborn child. I'll protect you. I'll clear our names. I'll make sure you know your father was a good man. But morning brought harsh reality. She had no money. Her ATM card would be tracked the moment she used it. Her phone was dead, and even if she charged it, the police could trace her location. She was 6 months pregnant, wanted for murder, and 300 kilometers from the only evidence that could save her. She needed help, but who could she trust when Chidinma had corrupted everyone? The answer came from an unexpected place. As dawn broke, Amara heard footsteps. She pressed herself against the wall, heart pounding, ready to run. But the person who entered wasn't a police officer. It was Blessing, another maid from the Okonkwo mansion. She carried a plastic bag and looked terrified. Amara, are you here? It's me, Blessing. Amara stepped out cautiously. How did you find me? I saw you running last night. I followed you. Blessing set down the bag. I brought you food, water, and some money. It's not much, only 20,000 naira, but it's all I have saved. Amara's eyes filled with tears. Why would you risk this? Chidinma will destroy you if she finds out. Because you were kind to me when no one else was. Blessing's voice cracked. When I got pregnant last year, when the master's business partner forced himself on me, you were the only one who helped me. You gave me money for the abortion, you held me when I cried. Everyone else pretended not to see. She wiped her eyes. I know you didn't kill Chief Ebuka. I know Madam Chidinma is evil, so I'm helping you and I don't care what happens to me. Amara embraced her, sobbing. In a world of betrayal, one act of kindness felt like salvation. I need to get to Abuja, Amara said. Chief Ebuka left evidence there, proof of everything Chidinma has done. Then you need to leave Lagos today. By tonight, your face will be on every news channel. Madam Chidinma is already spreading stories that you're a dangerous criminal who seduced and murdered her husband for his money. Blessing pulled out a phone. Take this. It's an old Nokia not registered to anyone, and I know someone who can help you get to Abuja. My cousin drives a truck. He owes me a favor. By noon, Amara was hidden under a tarp in the back of a truck carrying yams to Abuja. The journey would take 8 hours if they didn't hit police checkpoints. They hit 3. At each stop, Amara held her breath, listening to the muffled conversations between Blessing's cousin, Tund, and the officers. Money changed hands, papers were examined. The truck was searched, but superficially. Poor truck drivers weren't worth thorough investigations. At the second checkpoint, though, Amara heard something that made her blood freeze. You seen this woman? An officer asked, and Amara knew he was showing Tund her picture. No, sir, what'd she do? Killed her employer, rich man in Lagos. Chief Ebuka Okonkwo poisoned him for his money. There's a reward, 5 million naira for information leading to her arrest. 5 million naira. The same amount Chidinma had offered Uncle Festus. It was enough money to make anyone betray her. She's pregnant, the officer continued. 6 months. If you see her, call this number immediately. Don't approach her. She's considered dangerous. Dangerous. Amara almost laughed at the absurdity. She had never hurt anyone in her life. But Chidinma's narrative was already taking root. By tomorrow, the entire country would believe she was a murderer. The truck rolled on. They reached Abuja at midnight. Tund dropped her off 3 blocks from Ademola Street, refusing the money she offered him. My cousin says you're innocent, that's enough for me. He looked at her with pity. But sister, this is bigger than you. That woman you're fighting, she has connections everywhere, even in Abuja. Be careful. Amara walked through the dark streets, her body aching, her stomach cramping from stress and hunger. Ademola Street was in Garki, a quiet business district that was deserted at this hour. She found the office building easily. It was old, 4 stories, most of the spaces vacant. Chief Ebuka's office was on the 3rd floor, according to the directory. The front door was locked, but a side entrance had a broken lock, probably from previous break-ins. She climbed the stairs slowly, every shadow making her jump. The 3rd floor was dark, lit only by moonlight through dirty windows. She found the door marked E. Okonkwo Consulting and tried the handle. Locked. She had come all this way, risked everything, only to be stopped by a locked door. Then she remembered. Chief Ebuka had been paranoid about his wife. He would have had a spare key hidden nearby, somewhere only someone who knew him well would think to look. She ran her hands along the door frame, the walls, the floor. Nothing. Then she noticed the small potted plant beside the door, long dead from neglect. She tipped it over. A key fell out. Hands shaking, she unlocked the door and stepped inside. The office was exactly as Chief Ebuka must have left it years ago. Dusty desk, filing cabinets, a faded photograph of him as a young man receiving some award. Behind the desk was a painting of Abuja's Zuma rock. She lifted it off the wall and found the safe. Her birthday, October 15, 1998, 15/10/98. She entered the code. The safe clicked open. Inside were folders, dozens of them. She pulled them out, her heart racing, and began reading by the light of her phone. What she found was worse than she'd imagined. The first folder detailed the murder of Ngozi, Chief Ebuka's first wife. There were photographs, witness statements that were later retracted, payment records showing Chidinma's family paying off police investigators. Ngozi hadn't died in an electrical fire. She'd been locked in her room, and the house had been deliberately set ablaze. A security guard who witnessed it had been paid 10 million naira to disappear. He'd written everything down before leaving the country. The second folder contained evidence of Chidinma's family business, human trafficking. Her father, Senator Okafor, ran a network that trafficked young girls from rural areas to Europe under the guise of education programs. Chief Ebuka had discovered this 5 years ago and had been quietly gathering evidence, planning to report it to Interpol. The third folder was about Chidinma's other marriages. She'd been married twice before Chief Ebuka, both to wealthy older men. Both had died mysteriously. Both had left her significant wealth. The pattern was clear. Chidinma was a serial killer who married for money, then eliminated her husbands once she'd secured their assets. Amara was reading the fourth folder when she heard footsteps in the hallway. Heavy footsteps, multiple people. She shoved the folders into her bag, her hands fumbling with panic. The footsteps stopped outside the door. "She's inside," a man's voice said. "I can see light under the door. Remember, Madam wants her alive. She has questions for her first." They were Chidinma's men, but how had they found her so fast? The answer hit her like ice water. Blessing. Sweet, kind Blessing, who had helped her escape Lagos, who had given her a phone, who had arranged transportation. 5 million naira was more than any maid would earn in 20 years. The door burst open. 3 men entered, led by Kelechi, Chidinma's driver, the same man who had helped frame her. "Hello, Amara," Kelechi said, smiling. "Madam has been looking everywhere for you. Time to go home." Amara backed toward the window, clutching her bag. "You can't do this. I have evidence. I have proof of everything Chidinma has done. The police will." "The police work for Senator Okafor." Kelechi stepped closer. "You really thought you could win? A village girl against one of Nigeria's most powerful families. You should have stayed in Enugu selling vegetables with your mother." Rage replaced fear. "My mother was worth 1,000 of Chidinma. She had integrity. She had honor. And where is she now? Dead because integrity doesn't pay hospital bills." He lunged for her. Amara did the only thing she could think of. She smashed the window with her elbow, glass cutting her arm, and screamed into the night with everything she had. "Help, they're trying to kill me. Somebody help." Lights flickered on in nearby buildings. A security guard from across the street looked up. Kelechi cursed. "Grab her quickly before." But Amara was already climbing through the window onto the fire escape. 3 stories up, pregnant, terrified, she scrambled down the metal ladder. The men followed, cursing and shouting. She reached the ground and ran. Behind her she could hear them giving chase, their footsteps echoing through the empty streets. She turned a corner and nearly collided with someone. A woman in a night guard uniform, elderly but sturdy. "Please," Amara gasped. "They're trying to kill me. I'm innocent. I have proof." The guard saw the men rounding the corner, saw the terror in Amara's eyes, and made a split-second decision. She grabbed Amara's arm and pulled her into a nearby alley, pushing her behind a dumpster. "Stay down, don't move." Kelechi and his men ran past, their footsteps fading into the distance. The guard waited a full minute before helping Amara up. "You're that girl from the news, the one who killed Chief Okonkwo." "I didn't kill him, his wife did. I can prove it." The guard studied her for a long moment. My daughter was trafficked 5 years ago, promised a job in Italy, ended up in a brothel in Spain. By the time we found her, she was dead. The people who took her were never caught. The investigation was closed. Amara's heart clenched. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Tell me this. Does your proof involve Senator Okonkwo and his trafficking network? Yes, everything. Names, dates, payments, victims. The guard's expression hardened with an emotion Amara recognized. The need for revenge, for justice, for someone to pay. Then I'll help you, but not here. Abuja is their territory. You need to get this evidence to someone who can't be bought. She pulled out her phone. I know someone, a journalist in Port Harcourt, Adiz Nwasu. She's been investigating Senator Okonkwo for years, but she never had enough evidence to publish. With what you have, she can expose everything. Why are you helping me? Because my daughter died screaming for help that never came. Maybe I can't save her, but I can help save you. The guard's eyes were fierce. Give me your evidence. I'll make copies, hide the originals where Chidinma will never find them. Then we get you to Port Harcourt. I can't ask you to risk. You're not asking, I'm offering. Sometimes, girl, justice requires people to stand up even when it's dangerous. She squeezed Amara's hand. My name is Mama Kemi, and starting right now, you're not alone anymore. For the first time in days, Amara felt something other than despair. She felt hope. But neither of them knew that blessing, riddled with guilt over her betrayal, had just called Chidinma with one more piece of information. Amara was pregnant with a boy. Chidinma's grandson, Chief Ebuka's heir, the one person who could legally claim the entire Okonkwo fortune. And Chidinma had just decided that both Amara and the baby needed to die. Would you trust Mama Kemi? Can anyone really stand against a family as powerful as the Okaforce? And will Amara make it to Port Harcourt alive? The stakes have never been higher, and Chidinma is about to make her most ruthless move yet. Stay tuned. Mama Kemi's small apartment in Woos became Amara's hiding place for the next 2 days. While the guard went to work, maintaining her normal routine to avoid suspicion, Amara stayed locked inside, making copies of the documents, organizing the evidence into a coherent timeline of Chidinma's crimes. What she discovered made her physically ill. Chief Ebuka had been thorough in his investigation. He documented 23 girls trafficked through Senator Okonkwo's network in the past 5 years. 23 daughters, sisters, someone's child. The youngest was 14. Among the documents was a video file on a USB drive. Amara watched it on Mama Kemi's old laptop, and what she saw changed everything. It was security footage from the Okonkwo mansion, dated 3 days before Chief Ebuka's death. The timestamp showed 2:47 am. Chidinma was in the kitchen, alone. She opened a prescription bottle, dumped out the white pills, and replaced them with blue capsules from an unmarked container. Then she placed the bottle on the counter where Chief Ebuka always kept his medications. She had poisoned him days before the heart attack. The attack at the lawyer's office hadn't been the first attempt. It had been the final, successful one. But the video continued. Chidinma made a phone call. It's done, Daddy, she said, her voice clear on the recording. By the end of the week, Ebuka will be dead and the maid will take the blame. Once she's convicted, we'll make her disappear in prison. No one will ever connect it back to us. Senator Okonkwo's voice came through the phone speaker. What about the child she's carrying? What about it? Once she's in prison, we'll make sure she loses it. Stress, poor medical care, an unfortunate accident. Who will question the death of a murderer's baby? Good. Ebuka was getting too close to our operations. His conscience was always his weakness. Better to eliminate him now before he went to Interpol. Amara paused the video, her hands shaking. This wasn't just about a jealous wife eliminating a rival. This was about silencing a whistleblower who threatened a criminal empire. Chief Ebuka had died, because he tried to do the right thing. On the third morning, Mama Kemi came home early, her face pale with fear. "We have a problem. Chidinma's people are going door to door in this neighborhood, showing your picture, offering money. Someone saw you at the window yesterday. It's only a matter of time before they search this building." "Then I'll leave. I won't put you in danger." "No, we leave together." Mama Kemi pulled out a small bag already packed. "I have a friend in Port Harcourt. We'll drive through the back roads, avoid the highways. It'll take longer, but it's safer." "You can't come with me. You'll lose your job, maybe your life." "My daughter is dead. My husband died in the Civil War. I have no family left. This job, this life, it's empty." Mama Kemi's eyes were fierce. "But helping you, exposing the people who destroyed my child, that gives my life meaning. So we're going together, and I don't want to hear any more arguments." They left at dawn in Mama Kemi's ancient Toyota. The car was older than Amara, with a temperamental engine and windows that didn't roll down properly. But it ran. They took rural routes through Kogi State, avoiding major checkpoints. The journey that should have taken 6 hours stretched to 10. Amara's belly cramped periodically, stress contractions that terrified her. She was 7 months pregnant now, and every bump in the road sent jolts of pain through her body. "Hold on, child," Mama Kemi said, driving with one hand and holding Amara's with the other. "We're almost there." But they weren't almost there. As they approached a small town called Okin, they saw a police checkpoint ahead. Not a random stop, but a deliberate roadblock with multiple vehicles and armed officers. "They're checking every car," Mama Kemi said, her voice tight, "looking for someone. Looking for Amara." There was no turning back without attracting attention. Mama Kemi drove forward slowly, rolling down her window as an officer approached. "Good afternoon, officer. Is there a problem?" The officer peered into the car, his eyes lingering on Amara. She had wrapped a headscarf around her face, pretending to sleep, but she could feel his scrutiny. "Where are you traveling to?" "Port Harcourt. My daughter here is pregnant, having complications. We're going to a specialist hospital." The officer shone his flashlight directly on Amara's face. "Your daughter, she doesn't look like you." "Stepdaughter, from my husband's first marriage." The officer walked around the car slowly, examining it. Amara's heart hammered so hard she thought it might burst through her chest. If he asked for identification, if he ran her name through the system, everything was over. "Ma, there's a wanted woman. Young, pregnant, very dangerous. We have orders to search every vehicle." He gestured to his colleagues. "Please step out of the car." As they climbed out, Amara saw another officer showing Mama Kemi a photo on his phone. Her photo. The one from her ID card at the Okonkwo mansion. "Have you seen this woman?" Mama Kemi barely glanced at it. "No, sorry." The officers began searching the car. They found nothing suspicious in the front or back seats, but when they opened the trunk, they found the bag with the document copies. "What's this?" the officer asked, pulling out the folders. "Medical records," Mama Kemi said quickly. "For my daughter's treatment. Her pregnancy has complications." The officer began flipping through the pages, and Amara watched in horror as his expression changed from boredom to shock. He was reading about Senator Okafor, about the trafficking network. "Where did you get these?" "I told you, they're medical. These are classified documents, evidence in a criminal investigation." The officer pulled out his radio. "Sergeant, we have a situation here. I need backup." Mama Kemi grabbed Amara's arm. "Run." "What?" "Run." They bolted. Behind them, officers shouted, radios crackled, car engines roared to life. Amara ran with her hands supporting her belly, her breath coming in desperate gasps. Mama Kemi, despite her age, kept pace. They crashed through the bush beside the road, branches tearing at their clothes, thorns cutting their skin. Amara's contractions were getting stronger, more frequent. Something was wrong. I can't, she gasped. The baby. Just a little further, there's a village ahead, we can hide. A gunshot split the air. Mama Kemi stumbled, clutching her side. Blood bloomed across her shirt. No, Amara caught her as she fell. Mama Kemi, please, no. Go, Mama Kemi whispered, blood bubbling at her lips. The village, find the church, tell them I sent you, they'll help. I can't leave you. My daughter, I'm going to see my daughter now. Mama Kemi's hand pressed something into Amara's palm, a USB drive. The video, the proof, get it to Adiz Nwasu, promise me. I promise. Mama Kemi smiled, her eyes already dimming. Thank you for giving my death meaning. Then she was gone. Amara wanted to scream, to collapse, to give up. But the officers were crashing through the bush behind her, and she had a promise to keep. She ran. The village was called Idob, a cluster of mud houses and a small church with a rusted tin roof. Amara stumbled into the compound just as night fell, her clothes torn, her body bleeding from a dozen cuts, her contractions coming every 5 minutes. A priest found her collapsed by the church door. Please, she gasped. Mama Kemi, she sent me, they killed her, they're coming for me, my baby. The priest, a young man named Father Chukwudi, didn't hesitate. He lifted her and carried her inside, calling for his sister who was a nurse. Hide her in the back room, quickly. As they moved her, Amara heard vehicles pulling up outside, doors slamming, boots on the ground. Search the village, she came this way. Father Chukwudi stepped outside to confront them. Through the window, Amara could see him blocking the church entrance. Officers, this is a house of God. What's the meaning of this? We're looking for a fugitive, dangerous woman, wanted for murder. There's no one here but me and my sister. You're welcome to look, but please remove your weapons. This is sacred ground. The officers hesitated. Even corrupt men feared desecrating a church. As they argued with Father Chukwudi, his sister, Ngozi, examined Amara. Sister, you're in labor. Your baby is coming now, whether we're ready or not. No, it's too early. I'm only 7 months. Your body doesn't care about calendars. This baby is coming. Ngozi's hands were gentle but firm. Now I need you to breathe. Can you do that for me? Amara wanted to tell her that she couldn't do this, that she was too afraid, too exhausted, too broken. But her body had already made the decision. Her son was being born. As the contractions intensified, as Amara bit down on a cloth to keep from screaming, she could still hear the officers searching the village outside, getting closer, asking questions, offering rewards. Push, Ngozi commanded. Now push. Amara pushed with everything she had left. Every betrayal, every loss, every moment of pain and fear, she poured it all into bringing her child into this world. And then, over the sound of boots and barking dogs and radio chatter, she heard it. Her baby's cry. It's a boy, Ngozi whispered, placing the tiny, premature infant on Amara's chest. Small but breathing, he's a fighter. Amara looked down at her son, at Chief Ebuka's son, and felt something break open in her chest. Love, pure, fierce, devastating love. Ebuka, she whispered, nomming him after his father. Your name is Ebuka, and you are the son of a good man. The baby's eyes opened, dark and alert, meeting hers. In that moment, Amara made a vow. She would survive, she would fight. She would expose Chidinma and Senator Okafor no matter the cost. Because this child deserved to grow up in a world where truth mattered, where justice existed, where his father's sacrifice meant something. Outside, the officers were at the church door again. Father, we have orders to search every building. Stand aside. Then search, but the woman you're looking for isn't here. She ran toward the river. I saw her myself. It was a lie, a priest, lying to protect her. The officers hesitated, then moved off toward the river. Father Chukwudi entered the back room, his face grim. They'll be back when they don't find you at the river. You have maybe an hour. My cousin has a boat. He can take you downriver to Port Harcourt, but you have to leave now. I just gave birth. And if you stay, you'll die and so will your son. Is that what you want?" Amara looked at her baby, so small, so fragile, wrapped in a donated cloth. Then she looked at the USB drive still clutched in her hand. "No, I want to fight." Ngozi gave her herbs for the pain, clean clothes, and a cloth to tie the baby to her chest. Father Chakwudi carried her to the riverbank where his cousin waited with a small fishing boat. "Adiz Nwasu," Father Chakwudi said, pressing money into her hand. "She works at the Port Harcourt Gazette. Tell her everything, she'll believe you." As the boat pushed off into the dark river, Amara looked back at the village. She could see flashlights in the distance, hear shouting. The officers had realized Father Chakwudi had lied. She prayed they wouldn't punish him for his kindness. The journey downriver took 6 hours. Baby Ebuka nursed weakly at her breast, his tiny body warm against hers. Amara dozed fitfully, waking every few minutes in panic, certain she would find Chidinma's men surrounding the boat. But they made it. As dawn broke over Port Harcourt, the boat docked at a small fishing village. Amara climbed out, her body screaming in agony, her baby in her arms, the USB drive in her pocket. She asked directions to the Port Harcourt Gazette. And she went to find Adiz Nwasu, the journalist who might be her last hope. Because somewhere behind her, Chidinma had just received word that Amara had given birth to Chief Ebuka's son, and she was mobilizing every resource, every connection, every weapon at her disposal. The hunt was about to reach its bloody conclusion. How far would you go to protect your child? Would you trust a journalist with evidence that could destroy the most powerful family in Nigeria? Amara's journey is almost over, but the most dangerous confrontation is still ahead. What do you think will happen when Chidinma and Amara finally face each other again? Share your thoughts, and don't forget to like this video because what comes up next reveals everything. The Port Harcourt Gazette occupied a modest 2-story building in old GRA, its walls stained with humidity and its windows covered with iron bars. Amara stood outside for a full 5 minutes, baby Ebuka strapped to her chest, trying to gather the courage to walk through those doors. What if Adiz Nwasu didn't believe her? What if she was already on Senator Okafor's payroll? What if this was another trap? But she had nowhere else to go, no other options, no other hope. She pushed open the door. Inside, the office was chaos. Reporters shouted into phones, keyboards clacked, papers covered every surface. A young woman at the reception desk looked up, her eyes widening at the sight of Amara's torn clothes, her exhausted face, the newborn baby. "Can I help you?" "I need to see Adiz Nwasu. Please, it's urgent." "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but tell her I have information about Senator Okafor's trafficking network. Tell her I have proof." The receptionist's expression changed. She picked up her phone, spoke quietly, then nodded. "Third door on the right, she's waiting." Adiz Nwasu was not what Amara expected. She was young, maybe 30, with natural hair pulled back in a bun, glasses perched on her nose, and an intensity in her eyes that reminded Amara of Chief Ebuka when he was determined about something. "Sit," Adiz said, not unkindly. "You look like you're about to collapse. When did you give birth?" "Yesterday, in a village church while police were hunting me." Adiz's eyebrows rose. "You're Amara, the maid who supposedly murdered Chief Ebuka Okonkwo." "I didn't murder him, his wife did, and I can prove it." Amara pulled out the USB drive with trembling hands. "Chief Ebuka left me evidence, everything, the murder of his first wife, the trafficking network, Senator Okafor ordering his death. It's all here." Adiz took the drive, studying Amara carefully. "Why should I believe you? Every news outlet in Nigeria is reporting that you're a gold digger who poisoned a wealthy man for his money. Chidinma Okonkwo has given interviews, crying about how her husband was seduced and manipulated by a scheming maid. Because deep down, you already know the truth about Senator Okonkwo. You've been investigating him for years but never had enough evidence. Amara leaned forward, desperate. Look at what's on that drive, then decide if I'm lying. Adiz inserted the USB into her computer. For the next 20 minutes, she watched the security footage, read the documents, her expression growing darker with each revelation. Finally, she looked up. This is explosive. If I publish this, Senator Okonkwo and Chidinma Okonkwo will try to destroy me. They'll sue for defamation, they'll threaten my family, they might even try to kill me. Amara's heart sank. So you won't help me? I didn't say that. Adiz smiled grimly. I said they'll try, but I've been waiting 5 years for evidence like this. 5 years of watching that monster traffic innocent girls while hiding behind his Senate seat and his charity foundations. She closed her laptop decisively. I'm publishing everything, tomorrow's front page, but I need you to go on record, an interview, your full story. They'll find me if I. Not if we're smart. Adiz picked up her phone. I have a safe house. Well, my brother's apartment. He's out of the country for 3 months. You and your baby can stay there while I prepare the story. Once it's published, once the evidence is public, you'll be safer. They can't kill a witness the entire country knows about. For the first time in weeks, Amara felt the tight band of fear around her chest loosen slightly. Why are you helping me? You don't even know me. Adiz's expression softened. My younger sister was one of Senator Okonkwo's victims. 10 years ago, she was promised a nursing scholarship in London. Instead, she ended up in a brothel in Amsterdam. By the time I found her, she'd been so broken by what they did to her that she couldn't speak. She killed herself 6 months later. Her voice hardened. I became a journalist to expose people like him. So yes, I'm helping you. And I'm going to make sure Senator Okonkwo and Chidinma Okonkwo pay for every life they've destroyed. Adiz's brother's apartment was small but secure, on the 10th floor of a building with good security. Amara spent 3 days there, recovering from childbirth, nursing baby Ebuka, and giving Adiz hours of recorded testimony. She told everything. Her arrival at the mansion, the affair with Chief Ebuka, the marriage, the poisoning, the frame-up, Mama Kemi's death, the escape. Every detail, no matter how painful. Adiz was a skilled interviewer, drawing out not just facts but emotions. By the time they finished, Amara had cried more tears than she thought possible. But she also felt lighter, as if speaking the truth had released some of the poison Chidinma had injected into her life. The story runs tomorrow, Adiz said on the 3rd evening. Front page with the video evidence, the documents, everything. I've also sent copies to international news agencies, human rights organizations, and Interpol. By morning, this will be everywhere. What happens to me after that? We've arranged for a lawyer, pro bono. He's young but brilliant and he's furious about your case. Once the story breaks, he'll file motions to clear you of all charges. With this evidence, it shouldn't take long. Adiz hesitated. But Amara, you need to understand. Even with the truth exposed, Chidinma and her father are powerful. They'll fight back. It might get worse before it gets better. I know, but I'm tired of running. I'm tired of being afraid. Amara looked at her sleeping son. I want him to grow up knowing his mother fought for justice, not that she hid from it. That night, as Amara lay in bed with baby Ebuka beside her, she allowed herself to hope. Tomorrow, the truth would be revealed. Tomorrow, the world would know what Chidinma and Senator Okonkwo had done. Tomorrow, justice might finally come. But at midnight, her phone rang. The old Nokia blessing had given her, which she'd kept charged for emergencies. Hello. Amara. The voice was female, familiar, cold as death. Chidinma. How did you get this number? I have my ways. Blessing was very helpful before she had her unfortunate accident. Fell down the stairs, poor thing. Broke her neck. Horror washed over Amara. You killed her. I eliminated a loose end. just like I'm about to eliminate you." Chidinma's voice was calm, conversational. "I know you're in Port Harcourt. I know you've been talking to that journalist. And I know you think you're going to expose me. The story runs tomorrow. The whole world will know what you are." "Will they?" Chidinma laughed. "Darling, I've already spoken to the editor of the Port Harcourt Gazette, offered him 20 million naira and threatened to sue his newspaper into bankruptcy if they publish. The story is dead." "You're lying." "Am I? Check the news tomorrow morning. You'll see nothing but the continued search for the dangerous fugitive who murdered my beloved husband." Her voice hardened. "You should have stayed hidden, Amara. Should have run to another country, changed your name, disappeared. But you had to try to be brave, had to try to fight back. Now you've sealed your fate. I'm not afraid of you anymore. You should be, because I'm not just going to kill you. I'm going to take your son, Chief Ebuka's heir, my husband's bloodline." Chidinma's voice dripped with malice. "I'll raise him as my own grandson. Tell him his mother was a murderer who abandoned him. He'll never know the truth. And every time I look at him, every time I use his inheritance for my own purposes, I'll think of you rotting in an unmarked grave." The call ended. Amara sat in the darkness, her body shaking. She wanted to believe Chidinma was bluffing about stopping the story, but doubt gnawed at her. 20 million naira was a fortune. Even principled journalists had families to feed. She called Adiz, no answer. She called again, still nothing. Panic rising, she tried the office number for the Gazette. It rang and rang, then went to voicemail. At 3 a.m., there was a knock at the apartment door. Amara froze. No one should know she was here. No one except Adiz. "Amara, it's me," Adiz's voice called through the door. "Open up, we have a problem." Amara opened the door to find Adiz looking devastated, her eyes red from crying. "They got to him, my editor. He killed the story." "No," Amara felt the floor drop out from under her. "No, there has to be another way. Another newspaper, a blog, social media. I tried everything. Every media house in Port Harcourt is owned by Senator Okafor's friends. The ones that aren't are too afraid of lawsuits." Adiz's voice cracked. "I'm so sorry. I thought we could win. I thought the truth would be enough." Amara sank to the floor, baby Ebuka waking and beginning to cry. She held him close, tears streaming down her face. After everything, after all the death and suffering and sacrifice, Chidinma had won. But then Adiz knelt beside her, her expression changing from defeat to determination. "There is one option. It's dangerous, maybe suicidal, but it might be our only chance." "What?" "We go nuclear. We bypass traditional media entirely." Adiz pulled out her laptop. "I have contacts at international human rights organizations, foreign news agencies that Senator Okafor can't control. We send them everything tonight. By morning, the story will be everywhere except Nigeria, and once it's international news, Nigerian media will have to cover it." "Will it work?" "I don't know, but it's better than giving up." Adiz's eyes blazed with fury. "These people destroyed my sister. They killed Chief Ebuka, Mama Kemi, Blessing, and God knows how many others. I'm not letting them win, not while I'm still breathing." They worked through the night. Adiz sent encrypted emails to CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, The Guardian, The New York Times. She uploaded the video to secure servers, sent the documents to Amnesty International and the UN Human Rights Council. By dawn, they had sent the evidence to 47 different organizations. And then they waited. At 7 a.m., Adiz's phone started ringing. CNN wanted to interview her. The BBC wanted confirmation of the documents. Al Jazeera was preparing a special report. By 8 a.m., the story was everywhere. "Justice for Ebuka" began trending on Twitter. International pressure mounted on the Nigerian government to investigate. By 9 a.m., Senator Okafor was giving a press conference, denying everything, calling the evidence fabricated. By 10 a.m., Interpol had issued a statement saying they were opening an investigation into the trafficking allegations. By 11 a.m., protesters had gathered outside Senator Okafor's mansion in Abuja, demanding his arrest. Adiz and Amara watched it all unfold on the laptop, hardly daring to believe it was real. "We did it," Adiz whispered. "We actually did it." But Amara knew better than to celebrate. Chidinma was backed into a corner now, and cornered animals were the most dangerous. At noon, her Nokia rang again. "You think you've won," Chidinma hissed. "You think making this international changes anything? I'll burn this entire country down before I let some maid destroy me. If I'm going to fall, I'm taking you with me." "It's over, Chidinma. The world knows the truth." "The truth," Chidinma laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "The truth is that you're still a fugitive, still wanted for murder, and I still have connections that can make you disappear, international news or not." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I'm coming for you, Amara, and when I find you I'm going to make you watch while I take your son. Then I'll kill you slowly, the way I killed Ngozi, the way I killed my husband, and no one will be able to stop me." The line went dead. Amara looked at Adiz, her blood running cold. "She's coming, we need to leave, now." But before they could move, the apartment building's fire alarm began to blare. And through the window, Amara saw smoke rising from the floors below. Chidinma wasn't coming. She was already here. Smoke poured through the ventilation system as Amara grabbed baby Ebuka, her heart hammering against her ribs. The fire alarm screamed, but beneath it she could hear something worse. People shouting, doors slamming, the crack of gunfire from the lower floors. "The stairs," Adiz said, pulling Amara toward the door. But when they opened it, the hallway was thick with black smoke. Through the haze, Amara could see flames crawling up the walls from the 9th floor. And worse, she could see figures moving through the smoke. Men with guns. Chidinma's men. "The roof," Amara gasped. "Is there access to the roof?" Adiz nodded, pulling her in the opposite direction. They ran down the hallway, baby Ebuka wailing against Amara's chest, the smoke burning their lungs. Behind them, footsteps echoed. Voices shouted. "Find them. Madam wants the baby alive, but the women can die." They burst through the roof access door into blinding morning sunlight. The Port Harcourt skyline stretched around them, beautiful and indifferent to their terror. Adiz slammed the door shut and jammed a metal pipe through the handles. "That won't hold them long," she said, looking around desperately. "There's no way down except through the building." They were trapped, 10 stories up, with fire below and killers closing in. Amara clutched her baby, whispering prayers she'd learned from her mother. After everything, after all the running and fighting and sacrifice, it was going to end here. On a rooftop in Port Harcourt, with the world finally knowing the truth but too late to save them. The door shuddered as men threw themselves against it. The metal pipe bent. One more hit and it would break. "I'm sorry," Adiz said, tears streaming down her face. "I thought we could win. I thought the truth would be enough." "It is enough," Amara said quietly. "The world knows what they are now. They can kill us, but they can't undo that. They've already lost." But even as she said it, she thought of baby Ebuka never knowing his father, never growing up, never having a chance at life. That wasn't justice. That was just more tragedy. The door burst open. Kelechi stepped through, followed by 3 armed men. He smiled, the same smile he'd worn when he'd helped frame her for murder. "End of the line, village girl." But before he could raise his weapon, the sound of helicopter blades cut through the air. They all looked up to see not 1 but 3 helicopters approaching, marked with police insignia. "Drop your weapons," a voice boomed through a megaphone. "This building is surrounded. Drop your weapons and get on the ground." Kelechi's face twisted with rage and confusion. "How?" "The international coverage," Adiz said, her voice strengthening. "The pressure worked. The government couldn't ignore this anymore, not with the whole world watching." But Kelechi wasn't surrendering. His face hardened with the desperation of a man with nothing left to lose. "If I'm going down, you're coming with me." He raised his gun toward Amara. A shot rang out. But it wasn't from Kelechi's weapon. He stumbled, a red bloom spreading across his shoulder. Behind him stood one of his own men, weapons smoking. "I'm done," the man said, throwing down his gun. "I'm done killing for that evil woman. I have daughters. I can't do this anymore." The other men followed suit, their weapons clattering to the roof. Kelechi fell to his knees, clutching his shoulder, his eyes filled with hatred as police officers rappelled from the helicopters onto the roof. It was over. The arrest of Senator Okafor and Chidinma Okonkwo became the biggest news story in Nigeria's history. The evidence Amara provided led to the rescue of 17 trafficked girls from locations across Europe. 32 people were arrested in connection with the trafficking network, including 2 government ministers and 4 police commissioners. But Chidinma wasn't done fighting. From her holding cell, she hired the best lawyers money could buy. She gave tearful interviews claiming she was the real victim, that her husband had been seduced by a scheming maid, that the evidence was fabricated. Her lawyers filed motion after motion, attacking every piece of evidence, every witness. The trial lasted 8 months. 8 months during which Amara lived in protective custody, nursing baby Ebuka, giving testimony, reliving every nightmare. 8 months during which Chidinma's lawyers tried to destroy her character, her credibility, her sanity. But the video didn't lie. The documents didn't lie. And when Chief Ebuka's former business partners came forward, when the rescued trafficking victims testified, when Mama Kemi's daughter's case was reopened and connected to the network, the truth became undeniable. The verdict came on a rainy Tuesday afternoon in Lagos High Court. Senator Okafor, guilty on all counts, life imprisonment without parole. Chidinma Okonkwo, guilty of murder. Conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, and accessory to human trafficking. Life imprisonment without parole. As the judge read the verdict, Chidinma finally broke. The mask of the refined, elegant society woman shattered, revealing the monster beneath. "You think you've won," she screamed at Amara across the courtroom. "You're still a maid, still nothing. You destroyed my life for what? For a dead man's bastard." The guards dragged her away, still screaming, still fighting. Amara sat in the witness stand, holding baby Ebuka, and felt nothing but emptiness. No joy, no satisfaction, no triumph. Just exhaustion and grief for all the lives destroyed by one woman's greed. Chief Ebuka was still dead. Mama Kemi was still dead. Blessing was still dead. 23 girls had lost years of their lives to trafficking. Countless families had been torn apart. Justice had come, but it felt hollow. 6 months after the trial, Amara stood at Chief Ebuka's grave in a quiet cemetery in Aba. Someone had placed flowers there recently. She added her own bouquet and sat on the grass, baby Ebuka playing beside her. "We won," she said softly. "Your wife is in prison, your son is safe. The trafficking network is destroyed, but I wish you were here to see it. I wish our son could know his father." "He will know him." Amara turned to find an elderly man approaching, distinguished-looking despite his age. She recognized him from the trial. Justice Okafor, the Supreme Court Judge Chief Ebuka had trusted. No relation to Senator Okafor despite the shared surname. "Justice Okafor, I didn't expect to see you here." "Ebuka was my friend, more than a friend. He was like a son to me." The old man sat beside her on the grass, his movements careful. "I've been watching your case closely, making sure justice was truly served, and now I have something for you." He handed her a folder. Inside were legal documents. "What is this?" "Chief Ebuka's true will. The real one, written months before his death and filed with my office for safekeeping. He didn't trust his wife not to destroy any copies in his home." Justice Okafor's eyes were kind. He left everything to you and your child. The properties, the investments, the offshore accounts. Everything that was truly his, not what Chidinma had already stolen. Amara stared at the documents, her hands shaking. I don't want his money. I never wanted. I know, that's why you deserve it, the judge smiled. Ebuka knew you loved him for himself, not his wealth. That's why he wanted to provide for you and his child. Don't reject his final gift out of pride. Use it to build the life he wanted you to have. Tears streamed down Amara's face. I just wanted him alive. I would trade everything to have him back. I know, child, but death is the one thing money can't fix. Justice Okonkwo stood slowly. Honor his memory by living well. Raise his son to be a good man. That's the best justice you can give him. 2 years later, Amara stood on the grounds of the Ebuka Okonkwo Foundation for Trafficked Persons, watching the opening ceremony of their 10th safe house. The foundation provided shelter, counseling, education, and legal support to survivors of human trafficking. Adiz had become the foundation's communications director, using her journalism skills to continue exposing trafficking networks across West Africa. Together, they had helped over 300 survivors rebuild their lives. Baby Ebuka, now a toddler, ran across the grass chasing butterflies, his laughter bright and clear. He had his father's eyes, his father's gentle spirit. Your daddy would be proud, Amara whispered, watching him play. She had used Chief Ebuka's inheritance exactly as he would have wanted, not for revenge, not for luxury, but for healing. She'd paid for Mama Kemi's grandson's education, fully funding his schooling through university. She'd established a scholarship fund for girls from rural areas. She donated to the families of every trafficking victim they'd identified. And every night, she told little Ebuka stories about his father, about the man who'd built an empire but never forgot where he came from, about the man who'd risked everything to expose corruption, even though it cost him his life, about the man who'd loved them both enough to leave behind evidence that would protect them. Chidinma and her father remained in Kirikiri maximum security prison, their appeals exhausted, their empire dismantled. Occasionally, Amara saw news articles about them. Chidinma had suffered a stroke and was partially paralyzed. Senator Okonkwo's health was failing rapidly. They were dying slowly in prison, forgotten by the society they'd once controlled. Amara felt no satisfaction in their suffering, just a quiet acknowledgement that justice, however imperfect, had been served. She had survived, her son had survived, and from the ashes of tragedy something good had emerged. Miss Amara, one of the foundation's counselors, approached. The survivors want to thank you personally. They've prepared something. Amara followed her inside, where 20 young women stood waiting, survivors of the trafficking network that had destroyed so many lives. Some had been rescued during the investigation. Others had found their way home years later and sought help from the foundation. They began to sing, a traditional Nigerian song about resilience, about surviving the storm, about finding home after being lost. Their voices rose together, harmonizing, filling the room with hope and healing. And for the first time since Chief Ebuka's death, Amara felt something other than grief. She felt peace. That evening, as Amara put little Ebuka to bed in their modest home in a quiet Lagos suburb, he looked up at her with his father's eyes. Mama, tell me about Daddy again. Amara smiled, stroking his hair. Your daddy was a good man who fought for what was right, even when it was dangerous. He loved you before you were born, and he made sure you would be protected even after he was gone. Was he brave? The bravest man I ever knew. Like you, Mama. Amara's breath caught. She had never thought of herself as brave, just desperate, just surviving, just doing what she had to do. But looking at her son's trusting face, she realized something. Sometimes bravery isn't about being fearless. It's about being terrified but fighting anyway. It's about losing everything but refusing to give up. It's about being thrown out and betrayed but standing up and demanding justice. Yes, baby, she whispered, like me. As Ebuka drifted to sleep, Amara stood at the window, looking out at the Lagos night. Somewhere in this vast city, other maids were working in big houses, other poor girls were being exploited, other families were trapped in systems designed to keep them powerless. But now they had an example, a story about a village girl who'd been thrown out but fought back, who'd been framed for murder but exposed the truth, who'd lost everything but gained justice. The story of how the family threw the maid out, but the billionaire's secret came out and changed everything. And perhaps, Amara thought, that was the real victory. Not just winning her own case, but proving that the powerful could be held accountable, that truth could prevail, that even the poorest, most vulnerable person could fight back and win. The phone rang. It was Adiz. Tomorrow's headline just came in from the newsroom, she said, excitement in her voice. Interpol just arrested 15 more people connected to trafficking networks across 5 countries, all based on leads from our investigation. The ripple effects are still spreading. Good, Amara said simply. Good, Amara, we're changing the world. We're saving lives. I know, but I also know it won't bring back the lives already lost, won't heal all the trauma, won't undo all the evil. Amara's voice was soft but certain. We're just doing what we can with what we have where we are. That's all anyone can do. After they hung up, Amara returned to little Ebuka's room. She watched him sleep, this precious child who'd been born into chaos but would grow up in peace. This son of a murdered billionaire and a village maid. This living proof that love could triumph over hate, that truth could overcome lies, that justice, however delayed, could still arrive. Your father and I, she whispered to her sleeping son, we were just ordinary people who refused to accept that evil should win, and it turned out that was enough. Outside, the Lagos night hummed with life. Millions of stories, millions of struggles, millions of battles between right and wrong. And somewhere in that vast city, another story was beginning. Another person was deciding whether to fight or flee, whether to speak up or stay silent, whether to demand justice or accept injustice. Amara hoped they would choose to fight, because she had proven it was possible. And that truth, that hope, that example, was the greatest inheritance she could leave to her son and to the world. The family had thrown the maid out, but the billionaire's secret had come out. And in the end, justice had won. So tell me, what did you think of Amara's journey? Would you have had the courage to fight back against such powerful enemies? Have you ever witnessed injustice and wondered if one person could really make a difference? This story shows that no matter how powerless you feel, truth and courage can change everything. If this story moved you, if it made you think, if it reminded you that good can triumph over evil, then please subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share it with everyone who needs to hear this message. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. What was the most powerful moment for you? And remember, in your own life, when you face injustice, when powerful people try to silence you, when the world seems designed to keep you down, don't give up. Fight back, speak truth, demand justice. Because as Amara proved, sometimes the most ordinary person can achieve the most extraordinary victory. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.